Welcome to CEO, Leading the Real Economy, RSM's continuing series of conversations with middle market leaders about keeping their businesses on track through the public health crisis, modern challenges, and economic volatility. Here's your host, Joe Adams, CEO and Managing Partner of RSM US LLP.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Joe Adams, and today I'm joined by Kyle Krause, CEO and Chairman of the Krause Group, conglomerate of convenience retail, logistics, Italian wineries, hospitality, real estate, agriculture, and a soccer team. Based in Des Moines, Iowa. Thanks so much for joining me today, Kyle.
Oh, Joe, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for asking me.
Your chain of 400 convenience stores located in 11 states. This pandemic hit not too long ago. What do you see as the greatest challenges that you're facing right now?
Well, I think not unique to my business. I think the greatest challenges we had was the safety of our associates and the safety of our customers. And that's, again, not unique. But for us, it was first making sure our associates were in a safe place, or making sure we took care of things for them, outside of just a job place. A safe place can also be knowing you're going to get a paycheck. And then for our customers, really making sure we're doing a continual sanitization of the stores, making sure that we're addressing any issues they may have, and try to create the entire environment inside the stores to be even safer than it would have been before the pandemic hit.
What types of things did you really have to get involved in doing right away to keep the stores open and operating under the guidelines?
We came at it first and we said to our associates, we took all of our full-time associates and said, you know what you're doing, you have a job. You're not going to lose your job because of the coronavirus. So, take that worry that the coronavirus is going to cause an occupational issue for you off the table. That's not a concern. You're critical, you're important, you're essential, right? It's defined by the government, also by us. And so I think with that, we also were early and for months paid an additional couple dollars an hour to all of our associates. And just the idea of it's extra work. It's a extra body of work to keep the store sanitized. It's not just clean, but that extra layer of clean that needs to happen. And so we were doing those types of things for our associates and continue to do that for them today.
So how has the pandemic affected the foot traffic and vehicle traffic, stopping through?
As it hit us in the Midwest, it was about mid-March. And you think for a couple of weeks there in March, last couple of weeks of the month, we just got crushed. Volume, rightfully so, goes dramatically down. People aren't driving. They're really in this properly locked down situation. But then the inside sales side of what we do, it came back fairly quickly, relatively speaking. None of this has gone maybe super quickly, but came back fairly quickly into a little more normal set, where the mix of what we sell has changed dramatically, but what our actual inside sales have come back to some version of normal, if we can use that word in these times.
So did you have any supply chain challenges as you worked through this?
I mean, not dramatically. Certainly initially trying to get masks for our people, the same problem everybody had. But we were early on, we got sanitizer in our stores we had them anyway, but you now have sanitizers everywhere, where before you just had it in a few spots. And so those types of things, we were pretty early trying to get that and have them in place. We were pretty early getting masks. So we had those. Those would probably be the masks were probably the biggest supply chain issue.
Let's shift over to the wineries and the vineyards in northern Italy.
For us, certainly we did similar to what you saw here in the United States. You shut down what we were doing, shut down construction on our resort, and sent people home and did the work from home thing, and also the same thing we're doing here, trying to taking care of people from a pay standpoint. And our people all were safe. We didn't have any issues.
So are the wineries open, and are you entertaining guests at your wineries? How has the business been?
That's a good question. Yes, the wineries opened back up. They actually opened back up to tourism. What you're seeing there now is you're seeing some other European countries coming into Italy and having some level of tourism. And I say that for a relative sense. From a business standpoint, between the two wineries, the one winery we have, Vietti, has a much more American presence to what they do, versus the other winery, Enrico Serafino, has a much more Italian presence on a percentage of volume standpoint. And so the winery Vietti, with the American presence, is actually volume-wise doing well this year. Italy had a much more severe shutdown in how they operated. I mean, they closed down people for a longer period of time than we did here in America. And because of that, we certainly had the volume drop on a percentage basis at the winery Enrico Serafino that was more Italian-based. But these are short-term things. These are, how was Q2 sales type of numbers, where now as things go back to normal, that's an okay thing. So I'll take the trade-off of having a difficult Q2 in a winery as a trade-off for having the number of cases dropped into a couple hundred a day in Italy. It was a fair exchange from my standpoint.
You've been leading your firm for many years. You've been around other business leaders, certainly your whole life. How have you applied some of that leadership experience in the current situation of unknowns and new challenges?
That's a great question. I don't think this time there is any look back at someone else playbook type of thing about what we could be doing. I think as having, to be blessed enough to be a CEO for the last 17 years, I think in that position, you get to deal with a lot of ups and downs that have occurred, none to this degree, but having dealt with those in the seat, I think you build up a little bit of, I'd probably say, resilience. You take a longer term view, and you have an opportunity to maybe take a breath and say, what do we need to do? And as a family business, as the owner of the business, I just said, you know what? I'm going to pay our people for as long as I can pay our people, and we're not going to change that. I'm going to make sure all full-time people get their paychecks every week in the same size it was 3 months ago and 6 months ago, and just continue to do that. And so for me, it was taking that long view, maybe having the benefit of having, some maturity, arguably how mature I am. Our business has been good. We haven't had to worry about that. But I think it's more just the experience of having watched other types of things, having visited, lived through some of the other recessions. You learn from that. And certainly along the way, you're talking to smart people. I got a fantastic board of advisors. I mean, they're brilliant. And so you talk to them. Des Moines community has a bunch of really smart fellow CEOs. So I talked to them. What are you doing? And those would change. What they did last month and what they're doing today is different because facts change. So that was really been, I think, how I've tried to stay somewhat informed and maybe trying to react, as you ask me, historically of what I know from the past that brought it for today.
So as you think about, the impact of the pandemic and how it's changed kind of behaviors of customers and how the digital environment, how has that impacted your businesses?
Well, I think certainly there's been an acceleration in everybody's business on trends that may be favorable to you and trends that may be unfavorable to you. I mean, some of the things that we did amongst this, and what I really like is, you work out of that minimal viable product, and our company had to make quicker decisions than what many of us in corporate America go through some process and testing or whatever. We didn't have time to test. We had to take care of our customers because customer count, like I mentioned earlier, was off dramatically out of the chute. So what do you do about that? We went to full service at the gas island. We haven't been full service at the gas island since I was a little kid, but we went out there for full service. Why'd you do full service? One, we had people on staff we could, and two, it reduces touches for our customers. That's one, they didn't have to touch the dispenser, touch the pump, anything like that. Also, we were lucky enough to have in planning, we had a mobile app payment program that was getting launched in the middle of this, which means that off your phone, you can, if you have location services turned on, when you pull up to a come and go store, all you have to do is push on your phone what dispenser you want to go to. So you're in front of dispenser 10. So you punch in 10, it already knows how you want to pay for the fuel, what type of fuel you want. You don't have to type in all those aggravating questions. Gee, do you want a car wash? Yes, no. What's your zip code? All those things. You eliminate all that. So your solo touch to the dispenser is, yes, you still have to grab the nozzle and put it in your car, but you're not punching different buttons. And curbside delivery, typically it'd be fancy. You hop on your phone, you select the list of products inside a come and go store, which is in the thousands. You choose the ones you want. You do. You know what? We didn't do any of that. We said, basically, call us. We'll get a notepad and a pencil out. We'll write down what you want, and we'll carry it out to you. And those are the MVP type of things you do, where you just say, you know what, figure it out, get it out there. So those were, as you look at the future trend, it's taking out friction out of every customer experience. I don't care if you're doing something online, no one likes the friction. You take out contact. And I think forever, people are going to want to touch things, fewer things, less contact, and that's a permanent move. So those kind of things happen to us on a long-term basis. We already had what I would say was a good, strong digital customer experience program, but certainly throwing more money at that and quicker on ramping that up is going to be important for us for the future. Also, we're revamping our food program. Why? Because you change what happens within a come and go store, you change what happens within brick and mortar retail, but food is one of those things you want it hot and you want it now. And that's something that we don't have to worry about being displaced by a digital experience per se. Digital can get in the way from delivery, but we can be fresh and hot right now, and we can do delivery. So those are probably some of the things that we try to react to what we perceive the longer term trends. I think it's fair to say things like brick and mortar retail needs to continue to reinvent itself to stay relevant.
And you have all kinds of data I'm sure you look at all the time. I was just curious, as you saw the pandemic unfold, were there significant shifts in what your customers were buying? And were you able to react to that?
Now, the shift that we saw was, we stopped selling prepared food because there was a question, is it safe or not? And so we moved away from that. So certainly food sales go to zero. Now we're back selling food now, but it's still one of those questions. We stopped selling cold fountain and hot fountain, another way of saying coffee, because again, we wanted to reduce contact points, reduce touches for people, trying to figure out what's safe, what's not safe. So we're back to selling that again today. But those things just went to almost zero. We sell some non-prepared food, but basically to zero. So what happens? Alcohol. So our alcohol sales went through the roof. We sell a lot of beer, wine, and spirits, a lot more than we used to. And that's because people aren't going to restaurants to get that. We are their solution to do that. So if you think about it, probably the logical things that people wanted at home, we sold more of, and the things that you were uncomfortable with, like maybe food and fountain pop, or someone else had maybe touched that dispenser, or things that you were less comfortable with, and those sales dropped.
So as you think about the pre and post pandemic, what fundamental changes do you think are here to stay in your business?
I think that digital customer experience will continue to become more and more important. I think the brick and mortar for us will stay relevant. I mean, we are that last mile. We're the items that you're buying and consuming immediately. And so I don't want to stick my head in the sand and say we're not going to be impacted, but we're selling that type of product. We're not selling the toilet paper and the whatever dial soap or something. We're selling things that you consume right now. So for us, we're going to enhance what we do from a digital customer experience standpoint. That DCX is going to be that much more important. We'll put more resources to it, more people, more dollars, make that happen faster. The other thing that will happen for us from a change standpoint will be getting more involved from a food and making our food program even better than what it is today, and making our food program more relevant to where it's not just good gas station food, but good food, period, competing with the fast casuals out there. But I think that the question of retail and brick and mortar has to be one that we always think about and say, what is that future? But having been in this business my entire life, there's been a lot of change from what convenience stores have been over my lifetime, and those changes will continue to occur, God willing, in my lifetime also.
So one final question for you today. What's one lesson that you've learned during this pandemic that you think can be applied to any business?
It's hopefully one that I didn't learn but got reinforced is, our people are our most important part of our business, and that what separates Come and Go and all of our Krause Group companies is our people. To be frank, you walk into a Come and Go store and you can buy a lot of the same products in other stores. And somehow for the last 60 years, people have chosen to buy those products from us when they walk into the store. And that's because of our people. And I think our people continue to impress me in this process, their dedication as essential workers. And for me, they're always going to be the most important thing to me and to my family. And so I knew before, but it got double, triple, quadruple down in this process where I continue to view them as the most important thing and more important than anything else we do in business.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. And certainly, I'm sure your employees and your customers feel the difference, and that's really continues to magnify your success. So really appreciate you joining me today, Kyle. Thank you so much for your insight. We wish you, and RSM wishes you and all of your employees the best, and hopefully you stay safe and be well. To our listeners, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our chat as much as I did. For Kyle Krause, I'm Joe Adams, and we'll catch you next time.